The following program contains coarse language. Viewer discretion is advised.
A house of secrets and abuse. In August, Oklahoma City police got a tip that a man had multiple children with his stepdaughter. That report would unravel a family and shake an entire community. Thank you for joining us here. I'm Jessica Shambach.
I'm Evan Onstadt. Tonight we are hearing for the first time from the adult children on life behind those closed doors, as well as the hero who would turn him in. KOCO's Kylie Thomas has the exclusive story you'll only see on 5.
This cul-de-sac in southeastern Oklahoma City looks like any other. But inside this yellow house was a man with a secret. And one woman would unearth the truth.
It just took someone paying attention. And believe it or not, he was telling on himself every single day. No one listened.
A family of 11 lived here. Mom, dad, and 9 children, hidden away from the world.
They never left the house only with him.
The children had never been to school, the doctors, or even a movie theater, all to conceal a secret they never knew was wrong: their dad's relationship with their stepsister.
Did you know that the younger kids were your dad's kids too?
That I already knew about. I never knew that it was anything wrong with it.
We just grew up like if it was normal to us.
At 12 years old, their oldest sister had her first baby with their dad, according to court documents. She gave birth to 4 more inside this home. KOCO sat down with 3 of the siblings who wanted to share their story.
So when she had her first baby, you were just little.
Yeah, I think I was 7 or 8.
Did you ever question why you guys weren't allowed to leave the house more?
Not too much, because Dad always said that he didn't want us to get hurt, or because he protecting us because of the people that are outside.
But that would all change.
I was looking for someone to paint the ceilings, and he answered the ad.
Doris Cole hired the father in 2017 as a contractor. She was opening several businesses at 10th and May.
They looked really crazy every day. The clothes, from the clothes that they wore, from the smell.
He started taking 2 of his teenage daughters to work, and Doris picked up on something she couldn't let go.
They couldn't read, they couldn't write.
He tried to homeschool us, and then they went from trying to not doing.
And the speech was really bad. When I first met her, I thought she had an accent.
She would question the family's homeschooling, the father's persistent phone alerts, and the van packed full of food and clothing. But there was nothing overtly wrong.
Every day it was driving me insane because there's nothing I could do about it. It was nothing I had to tell the cops.
Until she met the stepdaughter.
The first time I met her was in the hallway, and I said, man, that girl looked like she just had a child. She was young, and he was looking at her as if she was some sort of candy. I started putting stuff together. I said, okay, maybe those kids are hers and his.
The family became distant. Doris believes it was because she was asking too many questions. But they came back 2 years later looking for work.
Now this time I said, okay, I'm not letting this guy get away until I figure out what's going on.
And this time, the father told her the truth.
He said, well, this is not my daughter, just one of the kids. This is my lover, and that's my wife. I said, what?
After 7 years, Doris had the proof she needed.
I seen him kissing her, and I said, you know what, this is it. I called the police.
Detectives began interviewing the family. Worried he would take them and run, Doris let them stay in one of her homes as she worked with police without the family knowing. And on September 21st, police surrounded the home, but Dad wasn't there.
They'd asked me if I knew where he was, and I said, well, he's at his other house. He said he was coming back. And so I called him, and I said, hey, you know, the police are at the house. He's like, did they see the kids?
What was the feeling inside of your house?
I was hurt because my dad took forever to come.
The adult kids were left alone with their secret siblings, waiting for their dad to face up to the crime.
I'm amazed, at the same time amazed and shocked that I'm looking at this entire family I've never seen before. I've seen bits and pieces, and the condition that the little ones were in. I never imagined.
Court documents reveal the kids had poor hygiene, foul odor, lack of dental care, and were sleeping on one heavily soiled mattress on the floor. Investigators say 2 of the children were nonverbal. After 3 hours, Dad finally showed up.
I stood there on the porch. I didn't get to see his face up front, but I saw him from the porch. That was one of the most satisfying days probably in my life, to watch him go get in the police car.
All right, take a seat for me.
Both Mom and Dad were arrested. The father's charged with 3 counts of sexual abuse of a child, 5 counts of child neglect, and 3 counts of child abuse. His wife is charged with multiple charges for enabling neglect and sexual abuse.
Both see her also as a victim. Do you see that too?
Now, yes.
You don't think she should be arrested?
No.
Court documents reveal a child told forensic investigators her dad had touched her privacy because he was a doctor.
No, I never thought that Dad would touch us or say anything sexual to us, so I never worried about it.
How did you watch that? How did you hold your daughter's hand while she's having a baby by your husband?
I can't hate them because hate is a strong word. I could only forgive them. I could only forgive my dad. And I could leave the rest of it into God's hands.
Today, the adult kids still live in Doris's home and work for her. They're now enrolled in school.
I'm doing better on my reading, so I read a book yesterday.
Have their first IDs, are learning how to drive, and working to get their sister's children back to her from state custody.
You have a 26-year-old that can't read, can't write. How does she teach her kids that can't read or write how to write?
Now, looking back, do you feel grateful that Doris intervened?
Yes, because she was helping us out.
It's just hard because I was the one that did it, but I'm also the one that's taking care of it.
Now, Doris hopes the community can wrap around this family and lift them up as they navigate life for the very first time.
So I'm hoping that that if there's anybody that wants to help, that it's a genuine help. I mean, they've already been lied to and hurt their entire lives. So I'm hoping that their journey in this world and the people that run into them would remember that.
Reporting, Kylie Thomas, KOCO 5 News.
What was, like, if we can kind of give like a little bit of a timeline as far as like when you first encountered this family, like, can you remember when was the first time that you met them or met them, the guy himself first before you met the family, or even when you met the family, and what initially caught your attention?
Well, I met him in 2017 when he answered an ad for a, I was looking for someone to paint a ceiling in the building I just purchased. And him and his wife answered the ad. My first initial encounter with them was, I thought they were late, so I thought they just jumped out of bed and came in. They looked crazy, their hair was all over the place. That day, there wasn't really a smell to them the first day. They just looked weird. And the next time I saw them a few days later, they looked the same way. So I just figured, okay, well, this is what they look like. They're never gonna. Sometimes you're waiting and waiting and waiting for someone to, you know. I was waiting for them to look better, and they just never did. So I just figured that's how they looked. And then when I met some of the kids, they looked the same way, hair all over the place, clothes, but they were also working. But then I also seen them some days they weren't working, and they still looked the same. So I just took it as they were weird, nothing else. There was nothing there to make me think that what I know now was actually going on.
And initially, like their look with them having all of the stuff in the car, they looked like they were homeless initially, right? Like just
Well,
as far as their look.
well, yes. In the beginning, I thought they were homeless. When they showed up for that initial not interview, but the initial job, I actually thought they were homeless. They had a van, and I figured, okay, they're homeless, and they have a van. They slept in their van. I didn't see any clothes. I just saw them from afar. But after they started working, a few days in, the wife would have to go to the car to get a tool, and she would pull out all these clothes, just some clothes in bags or some clothes in totes. And I thought it was weird. Then another time she had to go to the van to get something. I actually went outside, and I was like, why do you have to take all them clothes out of the car? And why do you have food in the car? Why do you have bread, meat, cereal? That was real odd to me because no one carries that type of stuff in their car.
Right.
And her response was, well, when the kids got to eat when they go to church. I'm thinking, how far is your church? And so I still never thought anything. I just thought it was weird.
Now, this family of 11 lived in isolation, and the children were hidden away. So a lot of this stuff you wouldn't know just from looking at the situation from the outside looking in. So how did this father maintain this secret for so long?
Well, they didn't actually live in isolation. They lived in plain sight. That's the issue, that he was able to do all of this in plain sight. They went to church. He took all the kids to church, not just one or two. He took all of them. They went to stores. They went out. They played outside, but they played outside at nighttime. Some things he didn't do as a huge family, but if you didn't know, you didn't know. He was hiding them from like the system. They don't know how many kids they got because of food stamps and things like that. But he'll tell you he has 8 kids at home. He'll bring 2 and say he has 8, or bring 2 and says he has, he'll say he has 7. Kind of never changed every now and then. But we always knew he had a bunch of kids at home. But we never saw them. We only seen the older ones. He said the ones at home were younger, and he would leave an older one home to take care of them. Now, the one thing that was strange to me, his wife saying she had little kids and was about to have some more, and she was in her 50s. Thinking, you can't have any kids.
It's a big red
So
flag.
that was a red flag. That was one of them. That was one of the first ones. I'm like, she can't have any kids.
Now, when we spoke about this, I know that you said that in ways he was actually telling on himself when he have conversations and get to talking to you about certain things. In what ways was he inadvertently revealing what was actually going on, revealing his actions?
Well, it wasn't really the actions. It was the fact that he would bring up conversations out of the blue that is not normal. Like we were putting up sheetrock in one of the rooms, and he literally just started a conversation about age limit, the consent age in Oklahoma. And I think I was doing one of the windows, and I turned around and I said, okay, why are we having this conversation about consent? He's like, well, I'm just saying in Oklahoma it's 16. And I said, so? And I said, I don't understand why we're having a conversation. So they kept talking about him and his kids. He had his mother, and not his mother, his wife, his older wife, his son, and one of the daughters was in there. But not the daughter that has the kids. It was one of the other daughters. So I just, played it off, and I just kept doing what I was doing because it was kind of uncomfortable talking about the consent age in Oklahoma. And his kids agreed with him. They all knew about it, and I thought that was strange.
So just from him bringing up conversations like that, you kind of realize, like, wait a minute, like why are you talking about this type of stuff? Like, why are you having these kind of conversations?
Yeah, and then I seen a picture on his phone of a real young Asian girl that looked like she was 15, and that picture was supposed to be his daughter's girlfriend, which was kind of odd. He talked about it. He would bring up his daughter and the fact that she was gay and she was married to a woman that was in California. And I'm like, what? Okay. Then he would talk about her having a child or 2 children, adopting. But then he'll change it and said she had artificial insemination. So it's like, okay, this guy is living in la la land. And those things I thought about. I put in the back of my mind and said, okay, I'm gonna hold on to that because this is a little bit odd. But still nothing I could tell anybody about.
So you begin to notice red flags when he started bringing his teenage daughters to work. Can you kind of describe like the specific observations that led to her becoming suspicious?
Well, it wasn't, he always brought his teenage daughters. He brought 2 different daughters. He had 2 daughters he would bring. One day he would bring one while the other one was at home watching the kids. And then he would bring another one day while the other one was watching the kids. I didn't know that there was another daughter. Well, he actually talked about the daughter that had the kids. He would say that she's at home watching the kids, but then he would leave another adult daughter, another teenage daughter at home watching the kids, probably because she was at home pregnant. I had never met her before. And one day I saw him in the hallway. I guess they had went downtown to change her name, and they stopped by the shop because he always talked about her. And I said, well, when are you going to bring your other daughter in? Well, she's not ready to work the family business yet. But I saw them in the hallway one day after, I guess she got her name changed. And he was just standing in front of her. And as I walked up, I'm thinking, that looked a little weird. And plus, she looked like she had just had a child. She was real chunky. And she just still had the baby fat on her. Mm-hmm. So when I walked up, he's like, oh, I want to introduce you to my other daughter. I'm not going to say her name. And so I met her. And then, but the way he was looking at her, the way he was smiling, I said, damn, that guy looked like he just looking at her like she was some sort of candy, like he was in love with her. He didn't look at her like that was his daughter.
Right.
So that was strange to me. So when they walked out, I was like, okay, that was weird. And I watched them walk down the hall and they were playing with each other, and that was it. And so I kind of put that in the back of my mind. I said, something's wrong with this picture. You know, she doesn't look like she was his daughter.
This
looked
like father-daughter interaction.
No, not at all. No. And by this time, I was a little suspicious about the kids anyway. And I'm thinking, okay, I've never seen this one. But that the relationship between them was already strange, the way he talked about it all the time.
So the 12-year-old sister had her first baby with her father, according to court documents. Can you delve into the psychological impact on the siblings and how they perceive this as normal?
Well, the thing is, they, from what I've been told, is that that's all they know, because that's how they live. That's how they grew up. Their dad was always with his sister. They were in a relationship. But you have to remember, it's her half sibling. That wasn't her dad from what we know. That wasn't her dad. That was her mom already had those kids by the time they were married. So the other siblings, it was just normal. When she had the first baby, they were little. But then as they got older, you have to remember there are teenagers in the house. She's having babies and they're helping deliver these babies.
Wow.
Which is kind of strange in itself. And you have to think about what kind of psychological impact that would have on any teenager. They're in the home helping their sister have a child. And no one's asking, hey, can we take her to the hospital? Can we do this? But then you also have to remember the dad said he was a doctor.
You said he was a doctor? Well, this is what he told them. That's what he told the kids.
They told him he was a doctor. So there's no need for a hospital if you got a doctor in the house, right?
So whenever they had medical needs and stuff like that, like he's the quote unquote doctor.
Yes, he was the doctor.
Can you provide some details about the conditions inside the yellow house as mentioned in court documents, like including the poor hygiene, the way it smelled, like the foul odor, and the lack of dental care?
Well, see, the problem is I've never been to the house. Well, I've been in now since everything was over, but I went in and walked out. I didn't stay inside. So I've only seen his house on Google when I tried to figure out where he lived, and when I saw it, I was like, "God, that's a nice house." He really did. And then I saw a video in his phone one time of him walking out of the house, so I knew he lived in a brick house. I knew where it was. But as far as ever going there, no. I only seen them at work, and that's it. We've never actually hung. Well, he's been at my house a few times because he's done work inside of my house. Mm-hmm. But there was no going and hanging out with them after work or none of that. It was entire family. That's when we met two of the little kids when they were younger, probably 9 or 10. But we only met two of them. So as far as I knew, he only had 2 kids at home. I didn't know about all the other siblings until the day that the police came. I found out that there were 5 of them, 5 small kids total. Mm-hmm. And then 4 adult children.
Okay.
Now you have to remember there's 2 moms. There's the mom of the adults, and there's a mom of the younger kids, which is the stepdaughter. That's his stepdaughter, and it's the mom's real daughter.
Right. Complicated.
It's complicated. It's complicated, crazy. Yeah, definitely.
So the father was hired by you in 2017 as a contractor. So how did his presence in her life, how did his presence evolve from a professional relationship to the discovery of what you know now? Like, how did that evolve from working to where we are now?
Well, he worked for me. And so, after some time, I started thinking about, okay, there's something going on in this house. So, and if you ever met you actually met 2 daughters. So the personalities, they're sweet. They're sweet individuals. They were nice, very polite. Mm-hmm. We played a lot inside of in the building while we were building. So I got pretty close to his kids. And one of the daughters kept talking about how she wanted to get out, and spread her wings. And I'm thinking, I don't understand what get out means. I asked her a few times, are you locked in the house? Can you just walk out? She's like, yeah, but my dad is overprotective and, he won't let me go anywhere. So that was kind of strange. And she was at the time maybe 16. But then, they left for a period of time, almost 2 years. They left. They were still in Oklahoma. I kept in contact with him, but he didn't work for me because I was asking too many questions about his wife, the kids, the school. And so I guess he got tired of it and he left. But then when he finally came back, his daughters were older. And now they're older, and I'm thinking, okay, you're still in the same position. You still can't go out. You still can't do anything. You're in your 20s. Mm-hmm. And so at this time, now I'm thinking, okay, something's really wrong. Why can't you go out? And so I started talking to one of the daughters, trying to help her to leave, and she wouldn't leave. She didn't say she was locked in. She didn't, I asked her a few times, can you just walk out the door? Yeah, but I've never done it. So she was nervous. She was scared to leave. So I couldn't even get them out of the house, get them away from him. But we talked so much. I was close to him. I was, fed him all the time, gave one of them a cell phone. But there was nothing else that I can do because I didn't have anything. I knew something because I did at one point in time bring him into my office and talk to him about the younger kids and asked him if those were his kids. He didn't deny it. He didn't say yes. He just stared at me. I kind of told him how I felt. And, I didn't talk too much because I didn't want the guy to run. So I kind of left it at, I'm on a need to know basis. He was comfortable enough thinking that I wouldn't tell anybody. And I let him think that, I wouldn't tell anybody, but I did tell him that, if those kids are yours and that's your wife's daughter, that it was sick. And I don't understand, but it's not my business. And so we kind of went on, but that's when he left. He left after we had that conversation because I think he was a little uneasy about me calling him out.
Now, I do know that your suspicions kind of got intensified by the time you noticed what they referred to as their homeschooling. Because, I mean, there were things that you obviously noticed that was off. They can't read, trouble speaking, and things like that. So when you noticed the family's homeschooling methods, the father's persistent phone call alerts, and the van packed with food and clothing, what were the specific elements that raised concerns?
Well, one was that they couldn't read at all. And if you're homeschooling, why can't your kids read? And when I called him out on that, he didn't say anything. I mean, I offered help on several occasions. He wouldn't take it. He would just say, I got it.
Yeah, take your time. It's a lot to really process. Not only a lot to process, but really a lot to think about because you know the story and you kind of know how detrimental that is. It's like
sometimes it's beyond detrimental. Because if you know them as well as I do,
yeah,
it kind of hurts a little bit that another human being would actually do another human being that way. And they're supposed to be your own blood. So for me, it's a little hard because I lived it every day and I'm still living it. So sometimes I've told this story so many times and it's hard to talk about it sometimes. Sometimes it seems surreal. And sometimes I think I might have been dreaming. There's a lot of things that I can't even say because of the case. There's a lot of things that when they do come out, it's going to be shocking to a lot of people that, is this even real?
Let me ask you this. This man doesn't come off as an educator, does he? Like when you see him, you don't think education, smart, teacher. Like you don't get those vibes when you see this dude at all. Like education is not the first thing that comes to your mind.
No. He can barely talk himself. He can barely talk himself, so no, he can't educate anybody. He can't educate anybody. In the beginning, when he said he was homeschooling, I believed it at first. I honestly did. I believed, Jay, that he was actually homeschooling those kids. When he first started working for me, I was on him about being late all the time. And then one day he said, well, I come in late, Doris, because I homeschool my kids. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I didn't know. So, but after some time of noticing that they can't read and they can't write, it's like, then what kind of homeschooling are you actually doing?
Right.
And I offered a few times to help him, and he didn't accept the help.
Let me ask
so there
you
was
this.
Not a whole lot that I.
Let me ask you this: these persistent phone alerts, these ain't just regular alerts. What would you want to kind of give? Can you kind of explain as far as these phone alerts? They're more like Amber Alert type deals, or something different.
They were like Amber Alerts. Like we would be in a certain part of the building, and he would be in a certain part of the building. He would literally come to where we were working at and say, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And it would be in like. He came from New Mexico. So the alerts would be from New Mexico, maybe California. And I'm thinking, why would somebody walk around with alerts? Now that was another red flag. Why would you walk around with alerts on your phone? And why are you worried about what's happening in New Mexico on that level? So I had to take that and put it in the back of my brain, saying, okay, something's not right with this guy. So those are the times that it would be a red flag, and I would think about, okay, something's going on with this guy. And then when I looked him up, I did find out that he had in the 90s, he had a charge for rape and kidnapping rape of a minor, which happened to be his niece.
Wow,
And
hold
so-
on. Can you, it's a lot to process. Can you give me that one more time? Say that one more time for me.
In Chicago, early on, see, and I found this out early on after all the phone alerts, the van, when I kind of figured out he's a runner. I looked him up, and I found out that he had a charge of kidnap and rape of a minor.
Wow.
And that was one of the main things that made us really start paying attention. I came back to work, I told my VP, and I told one of my store managers, and I said, okay, this guy's creepy. Maybe these kids are kidnapped. So we started looking. At least one of them we thought was kidnapped, the one that she looked nothing like anybody in their family. And we thought she was kidnapped. So we spent plenty of nights up looking for her, looking to find out if she was missing in New Mexico, California, because she had been in both of those places. And she was old. She was older now. She was she was 16 when I found that out. They were here the first time. So when he left, it was heartening. It was hard because we didn't know if he was ever going to bring his kids back to this building because of how close we were getting to them and some of the things that I was asking. He didn't know I knew about the record. I'd never told him that.
So he's a pedophile on record.
Oh, 100%. And I looked to see if he was registered here, and he wasn't registered in Oklahoma. So that was another thing. So I spent countless nights trying to figure out how can I get him arrested. I'm sorry to say that, but I did. So that at least they can figure out that he's a pedophile and get him away from his kids. But there was nothing we can do. We tried. People ask me all the time, well, why didn't you do it sooner? And do what? So they can run? So if I would have told, DHS, can you go look into the kids? He would have ran. Mm-hmm. He would have been gone. He was, the day that the police came to pick him up, he was running. Once he was questioned by the police the very first time, the one thing that I was scared about is that they would run was about to happen. But the police had already figured out something wasn't right. And so they showed up the next morning. But had they done it, because DHS came out to his house, and this happened in a couple of days span. Once DHS came out, the police questioned him. He was running. He was about to be gone, packing up, asking for gas money, and luckily the police came the next day because he would have been gone. He was moving to Canada. One of his daughters told me they was running. She said that we were leaving. He didn't want them to answer the phone for me anymore. And luckily one of them did. She called me and told me that we're leaving today. My dad went to the other house. Where are you? Are you coming over? And I'm like, I'm on my way. So it had it not been for her, they probably would have been gone. But by this time, the police already knew who they were. They had already questioned him. He would have been all over. His picture would have been plastered everywhere. And I told him that you can't run. How he thought that he can actually get away with it. Now that his girls were they're old. They're in their 20s. Eventually, somebody would have caught them. Yeah, eventually somebody would have told. I hope.
Yeah. I'm curious if you can kind of give me some detail about this, which is a big, big part of the story. The conversation between you and the stepdaughter and where the truth was revealed about the relationship that she had going on with the dad. What was the stepdaughter's demeanor during this interaction when you were talking to her?
Which the stepdaughter?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean about her and the dad? Well, that one I can't talk about because that's kind of in the middle of that investigation because she's the center of that. You know, she's the one with the kids. She's the one that has the 5 kids. She's the one that's hasn't done any interviewing or anything. So that one I can't talk about.
Okay. How did the family react to your scrutiny of how they do things and stuff like that? And why did they become distant after you started asking questions about your initial inquiries?
Well, it wasn't the family that came distant. The girls still wanted to come work. It was the dad. He would periodically come by, or I would call him and say, "Hey, Tim, I got a job for you. Can you come by?" He would show up with him and his wife, nobody else. I would ask about the girls, and he would say they were on another job, or, excuse me, they were sick, or it was always something going on with them. So he wouldn't bring them anymore. So I just kept him around, trying to make sure that the girls weren't pregnant, or not that I would know, but I just wanted to make sure he was still in Oklahoma City. So I tried everything to try to get him to come back and work. I offered him jobs that I didn't even have. I made it up. You know, I offered him whole houses to work on. He would say he'll take the job, but he wouldn't show up. And then one day out of the blue, he just showed up at my job, at my building and asked me for work. And he asked me, could I keep them busy? I'm like, yeah, I can keep you busy forever. So I made up a job, gave him a job, a weekly pay job, put his other kids to work. And I think it was, I don't know, a few months into it, you know, now his girls are older. And I was so surprised that he actually brought them back. That's what surprised me. When he showed up to come to work, he brought the one that I gave a cell phone to that I hadn't seen her in almost 3 years. And I was like, wow. She was 23. She was older, but she was still in the same position. Mm-hmm. Can't go anywhere. She's got a broke down cell phone, nothing. And so she was older. And so I talked to her a lot more, asking her, I don't understand. Have you been out? Have you been on dates? Have you been? No, she's like, you know my dad, he's overprotective. I'm like, well, you're 23. You can leave at any time. So I tried to get her to leave a few times, and she wouldn't leave. She wouldn't take the bait.
Like, there was a time that you said that you witnessed that the father kissed his stepdaughter. Like, can you kind of describe what you thought when you seen this happen, or the moment when you saw this happen?
Well, she was already coming in with a bunch of hickeys on her neck that we noticed on a daily basis. She was coming in, neck filled all down her chest with hickeys. So seeing that every day, there was nothing I could do about it. He had already told us that was his second wife. There was no, only other proof I had is what he told me, and then the hickeys. And then, but for him to go outside after talking to him in the building, he dropped off some of his kids. He left, and he stood right outside of my window, and he started kissing her. And I happened to be standing there thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, this guy's just going to keep throwing this in our face, because he knew I was in my office. He knew probably 100% I was watching him. So finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and call the police. I'm just going to go ahead and try this again, calling the police. So I just picked up the phone and I called. And while he's standing there, just kissing all over her, people driving in and out of the parking lot. Yeah, then I had my VP ran in the office, like, do you see that? And I was like, I see it. There's nothing we could do about it. It's like he just threw it in everybody's face every day.
Now, can you describe the emotions and thoughts that you expressed during that moment when this is going on?
That's kind of a hard one because I saw her every day with hickeys on her neck, knowing how young, at the time she was 26. But she looked a lot younger. She looked like she was 15. We didn't know how old she was. I didn't really even know who she was. I thought she was somebody's daughter. that had been kidnapped. So watching her every day, watching him just kiss all over her every day. And then this last time when he was standing outside my office, kissing on her, I can't, just thinking that this is somebody's child, that this is somebody's child that could be looking for them. I didn't know, it's hard because this guy was so arrogant, and he was so arrogant, like nobody could touch him, like nobody could do anything to him. Mm-hmm. He was, and anybody that would see, that saw what I saw, that he's standing there just kissing all over this young girl, it was sick and it was heartbreaking. And with me knowing everything that I did know, honestly, I wish I could have shot him in the head. I'm just sorry. It was hard. It was hard. So I just decided to call the police.
Like, what happens like when you call the police? Like, you were able to get them to do an investigation?
No, not right off the bat. Because that was not the first time I called. Every other time I called, I didn't know what I was reporting, and at the time I was all over the place. When I called, I was pretty much hysterical. Like, I led with, there's a guy, when you call, they ask you, what are you calling for? What are you reporting? I don't know. I don't know if I'm reporting a kidnapping. I don't know if I'm reporting a rape. I have no unearthly idea. I can only tell you what I see and what I know, but I had this last time when I called, there was a lady that answered. Mm-hmm. And I think had it not been for her, we still would have been in the same situation. I started telling her different scenarios, and then she got upset and she was like, where is he right now? And I told her, I said, he's leaving right now. He's putting the girl in the van. But what color is this van? What's his license plate? She started asking me all these questions. And I said, are you going to send the police right now? She's like, well, no. I said, well, okay, well, he's leaving, but he's coming back. She's getting hysterical. I'm hysterical. So she said, Ms. Cole, I'm just gonna take a report. So she took a report. And I think had it not been for her, I don't think this would have ever came to a reality right now. They still would have been working here. I still would have been doing the same thing. But she made a difference by taking that report the day that I saw him kissing her. Because people ask me all the time, why didn't I report it before? What was I going to report? You call DHS, they're going to come out. They're going to cause them to run just like they were going to do before. So I had no choice but to just watch them on a daily basis. And that's hard. When you see stuff like that going on and you have to deal with it every day, day in, day out, it's kind of hard going home at night, sleeping, knowing that these kids are going through whatever they're going through with this guy.
Let me ask you, as far as the adult children, that sounds kind of weird saying adult and then children in the same sentence, but nonetheless, because the situation is so unique, we're going to refer to them as adult children. How did they feel being left alone with their secret siblings?
Well, see, when you say alone, it's kind of confusing because they lived in the same house. They were only left alone with their siblings when they were babysitting. And the rest of them were at work. So one would stay at home, the other ones would be at work. So I can't really answer that because I haven't, for them, it was a normal life. They were at home babysitting their little brothers and sisters.
Now, court documents reveal that 2 of the children were nonverbal. Can you kind of explore the psychological impact of their upbringing on these children?
Well, you have to remember they were born at home. No hospital. They were born in a house. So you have no hospital. You have no education. The dad wasn't very educated. The mom. So one of them, when they say nonverbal, he couldn't talk at all. The other ones are pretty much following the same suit. But you can, if you try to talk to them, the oldest one can make sounds and kind of point to what he wanted, but it wasn't very verbal. You have two of the smaller ones that wasn't as bad. They knew some words, but not a whole lot. But as you go up in age, they knew a little bit more. The adult children knew a little bit more. They could talk, but still the speech isn't there for them. But they're not stupid. Even the little ones. When I got to the house, I'd never seen them before, but they're like little kids. Like they're older, but little kids. Especially the ones that were nonverbal. They were super playful. They wanted to play. They wanted to dance. They seemed happy. They just weren't clean. Hair wasn't done. Anything. Hair was kind of like they hadn't been done since they were born or something. It was weird. But if you knew the mom and the dad, you couldn't expect anything less. And then, people have to understand there's two moms. There's not one. There's a mom, the older mom, which would be the grandma. And then there's a younger mom, which is the one that has the 5 younger kids. The adult kids actually belong to the mom, the grandmother. Well, the grandmother of the young kids. So I just want to clarify that because people think it's just one set of 9 across the board, but it's not. There's 2 moms involved. Okay. And the mom that's in jail is the grandma of the older kids, not the mother of the 5 kids. She's not in jail. She's a victim.
Can you provide graphic details about the forensic investigation findings, like specifically the child's statement about her dad touching her privacy?
Which one are you talking about? There's a lot of them. There's not just one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And which one? Okay. You're talking about in the what the news said.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Okay. So one of the kids, one of the 5 smaller kids, said that the dad would take her to the doctor at nighttime and give her a lollipop when he was done examining her because he was a doctor. He told his kids he was a doctor.
I'm speechless. Like, I don't even know what to think of that or say to that.
Yeah, nobody does.
So
yeah,
he basically all their life told them as his kids that he's a medical doctor.
Yes.
Doing examinations.
Yes.
Wow.
Well, that was to the small kids. Now, the big kids, that remains to be seen. But the little kids, that's what they told the police. Kids don't lie about that. Usually when a kid's telling you somebody touched them, 9 times out of 10 is true.
So from my understanding, the adult children now live with you and work for you. How has this transition affected them, and what steps are they taking towards rebuilding their lives?
Well, let me make it clear. They don't actually live with me. They live in one of my properties, and they still work for me. They were working before, but now they have real jobs with me. Before I had to pay the dad. Now I pay them. They work. They're in school right now. They go to adult education. All 4 of them. They have medical care. They have one of them have already gotten their driver's license. They have IDs where they didn't have IDs before. So they're actually doing pretty good right now. You know, the school is doing well. They learn how to read, learn how to write, learn how to deal with money. So they're actually being productive citizens, whereas they weren't before. You know, they were just there. And you have to think about it. The ages are from 21 to 33. So if he was able to take these young adults and run with them like he was planning, what do you think would have happened to them? They didn't have IDs. He had them in a way that they could never leave. Never. Because when you ask them, okay, they wanted to get out, they wanted to go to school. It's not like they didn't want to. They wanted to, but every time they asked him, he would have an excuse. So you take these young adults and you move them. He wanted to go to Canada. He probably would have turned them back into teenagers again. So when do they get to live their lives? He was living his life. He was living his best life with a young 26-year-old. What about his other kids that were adults that had no opportunity to live their lives? I mean, he sheltered. I mean, he sheltered and held these young adults down. Your own kids. How do you do that? A parent's job is to help your kids grow. Is to protect them. He did none of that.
Right.
So it's hard when I look at them every day. Actually, it feels good to watch them grow and to watch them learn how to read, learn how to write. You know, just imagine having a kid and you watch them grow. They just happen to be adults that are watching grow into the person that they're into.
They're developing a lot of stuff that they should have had pretty much their whole upbringing. And so it's like they're more than anything, they're playing a hell of a lot, like the worst case scenario, playing catch up in life.
Yes, it is hard. It's hard every single day to watch that. Yeah. There's things that they don't know. It's places they've never been before. I took them to the first movie theater. How old were you when you went to the movie theater?
I was 13.
Yeah.
I was 13. Well, I mean, my first date. Sorry. Let me clarify. Yeah. So, but a lot of things that we take for granted, you know what I'm saying? It's just you look at their situation and you're just like, wow, like just imagine experiencing a lot of things that we consider to be normal, and you're experiencing this as an adult for the first time.
And for me, I'm on the back end looking, and it makes my heart sing to watch them do this every single day, no matter how little it is. So to me, it's like I got 4 adult kids, but I also enjoy it. It's not a burden for me or anything like that. I mean, you met the girls, the 2 of them at least, and they're all super sweet. They're all super
nice people.
Yeah, and you would think that they would have. There's people that work for me have attitudes and mad about simple stuff. I've never seen them mad about anything that's going on in their world, and you would think their whole family was torn apart, and they're not angry. They forgive real quick, and then they move on to do something else, because if they sit around being angry about what happened to them, they're not, and I expect that to them, you're not going to get anywhere in life. You have to move on. You have to get your education. That's the one thing I keep telling them: get an education, get that education, get that piece of paper to show that you can read and write, because there's gonna be people out there to take advantage of them. They're not going to be around all the time. Yeah, so it's hard. Children that were trapped in a house, that were in compounds or cults, and they thought about themselves. But then she said, no, we go outside, but then we go to work. So there's other children or young adults that's in the same position that don't even know they're in it. Because when you talk to these young adults, they think that they're in a loving family because that's all they knew. And you remember every day he said, I love you, I love you, I love you, probably 200 times a day.
Now, the adult children are now enrolled in school and working towards a normal life. What challenges do they face in adapting to a conventional lifestyle?
Well, that's not well, they're going to school. So it's just basic stuff like learning how to pay bills. They've already learned how to do that. I show them how to, because they don't know how to live on it. So you're talking everything that you would teach your child to get out on their own, they have to be taught. So they're living on their own without me in their face every day. I used to be. In the very beginning, I was there every day. Sometimes hours and hours and hours a day with them. I've backed up since then, and I kind of let them go on their own. So after they get off of work, they don't really see me. They talk to me. If they have issues, they can call me. But I kind of let them go on their own because they have to learn to live as adults without me. I'm not trying to take their dad's place and say, you do this, you do that. I'm not trying to do that. They have to learn to make decisions on their own. I'm here to try to guide them in the right way. And so every day I'm teaching them new things about living on their own. So it's hard because they have to know, they have to learn everything from paying bills to, they have a good work ethic though. They do come to work every day. They're here on time. If I want them to work late, they work late. They work while they're here. They do good work. But teaching them life skills, I can always use volunteers for that. And we have a lot of people volunteer to come help us.
Okay. How can the community assist considering the trauma and challenges that this family has faced?
Well, we didn't do a GoFundMe or anything like that. I had done so many things on the back end, clothes, food, medical. You got medical, they have state medical, then, the housing they already have, the schooling. So I wasn't thinking about, let's get out and beg for some money. My thoughts in the beginning was to get you IDs, get you education. There was no room to start asking for money for me anyway. I didn't need the money to do those things. But there's things that I can't afford to do. Like two of them really need speech pathologists. They need to learn how to talk properly. And in order to do that, they have to have speech. From the news, we did get some leads on where I can find that. And I've already started doing that. One of them needs braces. We have an appointment to get her braces, not to get braces, but a consultation at least. But they still need, they live in my house, but it's a 2-bedroom house. So I'm trying to find housing, transportation. They're still driving that van, which is creepy because the son did get his license, but they need transportation. So those are the things we're asking for the community to help us with. Any volunteers that want to volunteer to come by and help with schooling as far as reading, counting money, and things like that. We have abundance of clothes. I have a nonprofit that we already had clothes piled up, food. You can always use food. So I did create a link that we've put out on the Facebook page of My Life After.
Can you say that for me again and give it to me a little bit slower? Can you give that website one more time?
Okay, mylifeafterok.org. And then also you can find us on Facebook at My Life After. And then they can donate there. Actually, there's a link when you donate. You can donate $1, $2, whatever you want to donate. And you can, there's a drop down that'll ask you what the donation is for, and it shows for the braces, for the housing, for the transportation. I didn't want to take money for something that they don't need. They've spent their entire life begging. So I'm trying to teach them something different, that you don't have to live off the backs of other people if you can do it yourself. So they work, they live in a house now. They're not paying any, they pay their own utilities. I just started that, making them pay their own utilities, but there's no rent. But they really need to start living separate lives because they're adults. And then the oldest is 33. He's a male. He has to get his own place. So they're going to need money for that to try to get set up in some sort of housing.
Okay.
And people can donate to those causes.
And they can find all of that information. Again, the website is mylifeafterok.org.
Yes. And then also, they can go to Facebook, and it's on Facebook as well. On the My Life After Facebook page.
Okay. How do the adult children feel about their parents, especially the mother who was charged with enabling neglect and sexual abuse? Like, how do they feel about that?
Well, you have to remember, those are their parents. Those are their parents. So they still love both their parents. I mean, some of them don't understand why the dad lied. Some of them, in the beginning, it was like, we don't understand. Why would he do that? So they didn't believe it. But as time goes on, of course, they're starting to believe, and they're starting to question a lot of things that was going on in their life. But it's still an everyday struggle for them because those are their parents. That was the only thing that they knew. So going into this, I knew that I was about to tear apart a family. So they're doing as good as they can right now. As much as you can expect for to have your mother and your dad right now.
So as far as like, have you noticed like any level of resentment, or are they still just kind of just soaking this in right now?
Now, when you say resentment, are you talking about resentment against me?
No, against their parents.
No, not at all. Not at all. And people may not like me for this. And I struggle back and forth with the mom being in prison. Of course, they don't think their mom should be in prison. At first, they didn't think their dad should be in prison because you have to remember, this is all they know. So now you have a person in front of them saying that your dad is a pedophile. Then you have the police are saying all these things. They like, we don't understand. How could he do these things? How could my dad do this? And it's a hard thing for them to grasp. And then you have to remember the mentality of these young adults, that how they've been living and how they've been sheltered. So that it's been a hard road for them. It's been a hard road for them to kind of understand and come to grips with everything. That their parents are in jail. I was the one that did it. It's not an easy thing every day. It's not, and it's hard. It's hard and emotional every day.
With this situation, and we're all grateful, and you will absolutely see all the people just light up the comment section because so many people are so grateful that you were able to expose this, you were able to intervene in what we all understand was so wrong with this situation to help them all. Can you kind of discuss the ongoing journey of healing and recovery for the family and the role that you play in supporting them?
Well, of course, trying to keep them on a straight course every day, working, going to school, just different things that, I can go out with them and do, taking them to the movies, taking them out to parks, taking them different places, just sometimes just sitting around and talking. I'll take a couple of them to my house for the weekend, and we'll just sit around and talk. I try to bring up their mom and their dad almost on a daily basis so that I can get them to talk about it and not hold it in. Because first of all, you got to remember, I was the one that did it. And then there's people around me thinking that, well, these young adults are going to do something to you because of what I did. I was never scared about one of them harming me because they're inside of my home. That's never crossed my mind before. I've never seen any violence from them. There's people on the outside looking in that didn't know that. So you had people in my ear saying you shouldn't take them to your home, that you shouldn't do this, but I did it anyway because I was spending time around them all the time working. I got close to them. So now trying to help them navigate life, every day we talk about their parents. Every single day. There's not a day that I go by that I don't bring that up because I need to know the mindset of these young adults that I'm trying to help. I need to make sure that they know that just because I did what I did doesn't mean that I don't love them and I'm not trying to harm them. I'm just trying to help them. So it's hard trying to not get emotional every day and talk to them. There's one that want to sit down and tell their story to other people. And I think by talking about it and getting it out, for me, it makes me feel better. And then and a lot of times it's making them feel better as well and making them understand that the life that you was living, it wasn't a life. You were living in captivity and they don't know that. So that's more frustrating for me than anything else, that I can't get that point across. I mean, it's getting there. It's like trying to break through a rock, knowing that there's something inside of that rock, and I'm chipping away every day at that rock. And some of the rocks I'm not getting through, and some of them I am. But I think if I keep talking, showing them some compassion, showing them love, that one day the rock is going to crack. And they're going to, because right now they don't know.
Right.
Every day they still don't know.
With the adult children, do they now realize they were truly in a bad situation? What's your thought on that?
No, that's what I was telling you just now about the rock. You have one that's kind of coming out and saying she knows now. You have the other ones that are, I don't really know, I'm still unsure. So you have one advocate in the family that's trying to say, no, he did this to us, he did this to us, he was a bad person. But then on the other hand, that's my dad. I still love my dad. So
right.
I'm not trying to make them hate him because that's their dad and that's their mom. But at the same time,
there's
trying
right
to get
and
them
wrong.
And they can't. The one with the kids, that's it. She's almost a lost cause, but I'm not giving up on her. But it is hard to convince her that, hey, this guy, he's raping you. He was doing. She don't get that. No, not to her, and not to a couple of the other ones. So it's a struggle every day, talking, having conversations. Sometimes they don't want to talk about it, but I bring it up anyway. And then I have to really try to ask, well, where does that put me in this situation? Because I was the one. So I'm constantly asking them, are they mad at me? Are you pissed at me? How do you feel about, when they hear bad news about their mom and their dad, I'm the one that delivers that news. So that's hard by itself because I have to go and tell them about something about their mom and their dad.
Right.
And I'm the one that's in prison.
Yeah.
That's hard. So that it's some days I don't know whether I'm coming to go. It's hard. And I don't ever think about stopping. I just try to deal with it.
How long do you plan on helping this family? Like, because we know what you're doing in the short term, and I do want to say this, if you don't mind, that I'm sure a lot of us out there, including myself, are very grateful for everything that you've done thus far and continue to do. So that would be more or less like the short term, like the right here, right now. Long term, going forward, like, how long do you plan on helping the family?
You know, Jay, I never thought about it. I honestly, in the beginning, I didn't think about it. It's just something from my heart that I need to do. I need to see it all the way to the end to make sure that they're able to get out on their own, take care of themselves, and try to make sure as much as I can that they're not being taken advantage of, and to make sure that they can navigate life by themselves. So honestly, I can't answer that. So as long as it takes. Maybe for the rest of my life, I don't know. I don't know.
For me, that's probably one of the more difficult questions to ask you. Just kind of want to check your temperature on this. Do you think you will ever confront their father for his monstrous acts?
I can't wait till the day I can do that. And I actually did on the phone, because you got to remember, I did all this without him knowing. He's working for me every day. The day that before he went to jail, they questioned him in my office. And he asked me would I get him out of prison. And would I come bond him out if he got arrested? I'm thinking, what are you getting arrested for? What you going to get arrested for? And I said, yeah, I'll get you out. But he did call me. He's called me several times and asked me to bond him out. It's just kind of weird to me. I'm thinking, are you crazy? You know by now I was the one that did it. So, of course, I'm not getting you out ever. But I did, and I did it in front of them. He was on he called one day. He actually called, I think, the day that I had to tell them that I did it. He had already told them and they didn't believe it. So the day that I had to talk with them, that I was the one that did it, and then we all talked, they said they forgave me, and the phone rang, and it was him. And they talked to him. Then I talked to him. Well, actually, I talked to them. They didn't want to talk to him. I was the one that talked to him. And in front of them, I told them exactly how I felt. I didn't hold back anything because now there's no chance of him running. So I let him have it on the phone in front of them. I didn't hold back anything. And I'm going to testify 100%. I would have to die first before I don't testify. I'm in front of the line because he deserves everything that he gets. The guy needs to be under the jail for some of the things that I know that he's done that's not even out yet. And he doesn't deserve to walk the earth. He doesn't deserve to have any kids. He doesn't care about anybody except for himself. He's a monster. 100% across the board, the guy's a monster. And it's a shame that he's been able to do this in plain sight in front of everybody and no one knew. So when you think about it, he was smart. He was real smart and
manipulative.
Yes, and the way he planned, it's like he was growing his own sex objects in his own house.
Wow.
And would continue to do it if he wouldn't have gotten caught. He used to show me this thing about this man with 100 kids. I'm like, well, you want 100 kids? So he was a monster. And I'm happy that I'm happy he's gone. I'll be glad when he goes to trial, because I'm sure he's going to take it to trial. He thinks he's innocent. You know, how arrogant for you to think that you're innocent, knowing some of the things that you've done. You know, it's like going in the store and stealing something and say, well, I didn't steal it, knowing that you did it. And these horrific acts that he's done against these adults and these little children, and for him to still say that I'm innocent, it's crazy.
And I'll tell you this because I know we're kind of at the beginning phases of this, and sometimes these court trial things can take a while to conclude. But I will say this: I look forward to getting justice against him and any other entities that are involved with promoting this behavior in this entire situation, including the wife of his. In my opinion, I think they're both just as culpable. But I plan on catching some of them court dates too. So like I say, I'm going to definitely try to make sure and stay tuned with that. If I get an opportunity to go to court, I know I'd love to see that. I'd love to see justice and see this through to the end.
Yes, 100%. 100%. I hope it doesn't last too long. I hope, you know, what I'm actually hoping, and I'll be honest with you, I'm hoping that he doesn't take this to trial. I'm hoping at some point in time he stands up and be a man and say, you know what, I did this. I'm just going to take what I get, and I'm going to let my children go on and build a life that they deserve, instead of taking them through all this court proceedings, because you already know what you did. So why take your kids through all of this? Because they don't want to go to court. They don't want to have the news all at their homes, and they just want it over. Right. So I don't understand why he just, hey, let me take a plea. I did it, and leave it alone. Because he still thinks right now he's getting out. Yeah. So that's just crazy to me that he does. You know, I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him again, but I'm hoping that he does call me so that I can at least express that to him. Is that let your family at this point have a life. You know, let it go. Let it go. He's never getting out. So just let it go. He's not going to do that. You know, and I've always had a crazy thought that if he did get out, he could get him in it. And, you know, he told me one day, this is the day before he got arrested, and that was the only family that he had. That was the only family he's ever had. They can't live without him, and he can't live without them. And to me, I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean by that statement? So he was a little crazy. So I think if he got out, he would have done something crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's not, and they would have to come with a lot of money to get him out right now.
My question to you is, how can the community rally together to raise awareness about often overlooked issues of domestic violence, abuse, its profound impact on children, urging readers to support organizations combating child abuse? Like, what are some ways that people can raise awareness?
You know, if you see something, for me, I just noticed some of the way that the children are acting, some of the interactions that they would have with the parents. And if you see something, say something. You know, it's not. That's actually a mantra. That's a mantra on my show. They're going to love that you said that. See something, say something. They're going to love that. Because, you know, just imagine had I not paid attention to where these young adults and these kids would have been right now. Right. Yeah. You know, so and just if you see something that don't look right, if it don't look right, then it may not be right. Tell somebody. Yeah. Yeah. See, I also have a thing where I say, and people ask me all the time, what's your advice? I'm not a lawyer. I can't give you advice, but I can say,
it's better for you to make a phone call, call CPS, call the police, and be wrong and there be nothing found to be out of sorts,
Right.
as opposed to something being out of sorts and you didn't say anything at all. I'd rather you be wrong and say something rather than not say something and a child end up dead, a child end up abused, or this cycle that needs to stop continues to just keep happening. So that's kind of my advice.
Yeah, because sometimes, you have, kids might say things that's out of the ordinary. Like when one of the girls told me she wanted to get out. I'm like, get out of what? That's not a normal thing that teenagers talking about unless they want to get out of the house. She didn't elaborate on it. I can't wait till I go home tonight so I can get out of, it was just strange the way she kept saying, I want to get out. So sometimes it's just paying attention and catching little things can make a big impact if you tell somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully the person or the people you tell will do something about it. I literally called the FBI. That was real weird to me, that phone call. The guy asked me, were they religious? Like, what difference does it make? If they're religious, it's okay. Yeah, so it just depends. If I've seen somebody else, I would say something. Some people have this thing about that's not my business. But for me, I think the kids are all of our business if something's going wrong.
Right. Yeah. 100% agree. Well, I truly, truly am grateful for you, and I appreciate you.